so important to I always say, you've got to be the captain of the ship. You've got to be the pilot that flies that plane. You don't want to just go, okay, the storm's here. I'm going. You do whatever.
You're listening to Parents You've Got This, the expert guide to parenthood, the complete guide to fertility, pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. This podcast is proudly supported by Mistela, a natural origin skincare for babies and children, recommended by healthcare professionals. Mistela by Parent's Side since 1950.
Welcome to the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast. We're your host, Christiane Freya, and we love talking about all things parenthood. Today, we're going to be talking about something which one of our listeners wrote into us and said, can you please cover parental preferences? My little one only wants my wife. And in my case, at the moment, my little ones only want my husband. So it does change. Hang in there. And we have our incredible emotion coach, Christiane Kehoe, in here to talk to us about how to deal with parental preferences. We have the perfect expert here today to talk to us all about this issue, which does affect us at some point in our own way. We have Dr. Christiane Kehoe here. Dr. Christiane is one of the co-authors of Tuning Into Toddlers, Tuning Into Kids, and Tuning Into Teens. She is a grandmother. She is absolutely incredible. And Christy and I just hang on to her every word for reassurance. So we are thrilled to bring her to you all today. Christiane, thank you so much for being with us. Let's talk about parental preference. When we use that term, what do we mean?
Well, it basically means what it says. It means that they prefer one parent over the other. And that can start very, very early. And it's hard.
So can you talk a little bit about that a bit more? Is it developmentally normal for a child to prefer one parent over another, and does it change along the journey?
Absolutely, it does change. So there's light at the end of the tunnel for those that are struggling with this. But yes, there can be so many different reasons for why a child prefers one parent over the other. And in the beginning, it's often quite a physical thing because mum's feeding and baby spends a lot of time with mum, and then dad is not the familiar person as much as the main caregiver is. But it might be flipped. It might be that dad's the one that's at home spending lots and lots of time with the baby and mum's the one that's less familiar. So it might just be that the child's secure base is the more familiar parent. And that can start quite early. And then, of course, it kind of can change and it can go in different directions. By the time the kids are toddlers, they're quite fierce about it. So they can literally, if you go and you sit on the couch, they can push one parent away and they'll say, this is my mummy, it's my daddy, go away. I don't want you, which is incredibly hurtful. But toddlers can be really, really territorial. So, they find it really hard to share, and that includes you, not just their toys. So that can be when it's quite hurtful too, because when you're being pushed away, it just feels really, really awful, doesn't it?
It sure does. And then what about as they get older, Christiane? Is it, it's something I think we continue to feel, don't we? How does it change as they go through those different developmental stages as they get older?
Yeah, so I guess often as the kids grow older, they'll have different needs and and we often talk about kids being in different need states in our programs. So they might be really wanting to have fun, play, excitement, and very often when dads come home from work at the end of the day, they do that rough and tumble play with them and it fills the kids' cups and they're really wanting to spend time with dad and have lots of fun. Other times when kids are a little bit more activated into a need for connection, they often gravitate toward the parent that they feel gives them that emotional safety that fills their connection cup best. And so that can be underpinning parent preference. But also I always like to talk about it a little bit in line with preferences for food. So,
Always love chocolate.
That's it. So sometimes kids will love a certain food for ages and you give it to them and they eat it and they eat it and they eat it. And then all of a sudden, no rhyme or reason, they don't want that food anymore. It's disgusting. I'm not having it. and they want something else, and something else becomes the favorite. And I think parental preference is a little bit like that. There often isn't any reason that you can kind of figure out why they're now leaning toward one or the other. But sometimes you can figure out that there is a pattern. For example, they might really want mum at bedtime, and that can be really exhausting if you're the only one that can put them to sleep and dad's not allowed near them at bedtime. It can be quite draining, especially if you're wanting to take turns in bedtime routines.
Yeah, I think my husband likes that preference. And my little one's saying, only mummy cuddle. He's just like, see, I'm going to watch TV.
And that's worse too when it's the middle of the night and they don't want dad, and the only one that can settle them back down is you, and you're the one that's always doing that. So that can be really hard.
Yeah. What about the role of different sexes? Like, do you need a mum at a certain time or a dad at a certain time? Do you find that children of the same sex or different sex prefer a different parent at a different time due to the way that they're developing?
I don't think the research is that clear on that. I think it really depends. It very often is to do with familiarity. Who's the primary caregiver and who do they have the emotional safety connection with? So when their needs for safety and connection are activated, they'll gravitate toward that person. But other times it can also just be novelty. I remember when my son and his partner and my grandson were staying with us for a little while during the pandemic, and they lived in our house, and often I was the preference. So I was the only one that was allowed to put a grandson to bed, and that can be really hurtful too to mum, to every time that he had to do something he didn't like, he would go, no, you can't do this, only or me.
Oh, and they also wield that power, don't they? They can almost see it in their eyes, like, ha, ha, ha.
I know. And, he was only little at the time, but they can kind of, they really love that sense of autonomy and that power that they feel when they're making their decisions. So, it can be, it can be different reasons. Sometimes it's novelty and they really like having someone else, someone new that they find exciting and that they connect with, and other times it's familiarity. So they want the one that's always doing it. I don't think it has so much to do with gender. I think it's more, sometimes it's temperament based. If they're a kid who loves a lot of fun and activity and action and dad gives them that, then they're more drawn to wanting to have time with dad and have fun. Or if they're a little bit shyer and mum gives the emotional security, they'll be more gravitated toward mum.
Want some extra tips to help you navigate parenthood? Join a Parents You've Got This masterclass. Visit www.parentsyouvegotthis.com.au and sign up for a masterclass today.
Christiane, it's interesting with what you say about it. I love how you talk about it as being, a bit like food, which really helps to separate yourself from it and to look at it objectively and realize, okay, I see my toddler just did that. It's a similar thing. It's not personal. But that said, being rejected can really hurt. What strategies do you have for parents who might be, carrying that burden and starting to internalize that, even though they might realize they shouldn't?
I think it is hurtful, isn't it? You love your child so much and they don't want you and they push you away. It can also really activate us if we've experienced, separation when we were little, or we've had abandonment when we were little. It activates those really old wounds that we have, and somebody pushes us away and we're not good enough. So we can be on automatic very often. It just hits us and it's painful. So I think my advice would be that that's a natural reaction. It's normal to feel hurt when your little one pushes you away. It's also normal for little ones to push you away. So and not to take that personally. Yeah, because it does happen, and it's developmentally quite appropriate for a little toddler to have parental preferences, and even as they grow older, there'll be different preferences. And as you said, as they get much, much older, what often happens at puberty is they turn against the parent that's been the primary caregiver.
Oh, that makes
sense.
And
they turn toward the one that is not, because they need to extend away and feel more autonomy. and emotional autonomy especially. So they can tend to then turn toward the caregiver that hasn't been the primary caregiver. And that's often dad. So a lot of teens become quite dad-focused then, and that's really hurtful for mums who are then feeling a real sense of rejection, and it's difficult to manage those feelings that we have, the hurt and the worry and fear of losing connection with our kids.
Yeah, so we can't obviously do anything about that. It's all, everyone's growing up and it's all really normal behaviours. But are there things that we can do to build in those connection times with our kids, even if we see that they're preferring one parent over the other without forcing it? Or what would you suggest as some sort of proactive tips?
I think that's actually really important, Freya. I think we shouldn't just give up and just allow being rejected. No, exactly. I think it is always about building connection, isn't it? Finding ways that you can connect. If you're not the preferred person at bedtime, for example, and how can you share bedtime a little bit? Bring dad into it, for example. So maybe dad's the one that reads the stories and then mum will be the one that does the final step of getting the little one to bed. But really kind of bringing dad in, or mum if it's the other way around, sharing and taking little parts of a ritual can be really helpful. I would also just really focus on building connection. Like if I'm a dad who's pushed away a lot, maybe instigate connection time with my child. So at a time when the child's need for connection with mum is not activated, but they are in a state where they're wanting to explore and play, I might be able to step in at that point and I might be able to create a fun situation with my child and connect with them. Or I might seek them out and read them a book during the day at a time when that need for mum isn't activated. If you're only ever trying to get in there when the child's need to be with another caregiver is activated, that doesn't really help. But if you can build proactively opportunities to connect with your child, then I think it's really helpful. And it creates that familiarity. So you can take them to the park, to the playground. A lot of families have routines and rituals that kids really find helpful. So Saturday morning is dad's time with kids is a very common one. Or if dad's the main caregiver, then mum will be Saturday mornings with the kids. So I think that would be my advice, not to give up and not to resign yourself to being rejected, but to keep trying to build connection proactively.
And it's beautiful what you say as well about the parent that is the one that the little one is drawn to in that particular moment, sharing it and being seen to be like, no, we're doing it all together, and dad's reading the story and excited and engaged as well about that. I think that's...
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes too it's because the primary carer may never be away from them, because I found, like recording this podcast, go away for a day, come back, I'm suddenly in favourite again. It's just that you're always there, so they're not used to, getting excited when you're around, because it's like you're always there.
That's right.
On the flip side to being the one that is always rejected, sometimes it can be exhausting being the one that's always chosen. Have you got any advice for that parent that's always the one that's preferred?
Yeah, it is exhausting, isn't it? And so you do want to put things in place where more and more you can have a little bit of relief. But it's good to figure out when is the time when I most need it, when I'm absolutely not able to be shared. And you want to find the opportunities at other times to build connection with the other partner and to bring them in. But sometimes, the kids are so focused on you and that's all they want. And the only thing that's going to work is that you actually take an afternoon off every so often, or you go somewhere and the kids are going to be upset a little bit that you were away. It's actually okay for them to be upset sometimes. And as long as there's someone there that can name their feelings and can acknowledge that this is really hard, you miss mummy when she's gone and you wish she was here, and you're really sad that you haven't got her right now, I'm going to be here for you and we'll do some fun things that, make the time go quicker until mummy's back, and she will be back. So it's also just giving those opportunity to the parent, because it can be incredibly exhausting if you're the one that's the number one. How do we give you respite? We do need to do that, because you can get burnt out otherwise.
I love what you're saying there too, Christiane, from the other parent's perspective, because part of it too is it's exhausting, when you're trying really hard to try and make something happen. It's almost like when you try and be fun, you're not as fun. It's all like the incidental fun. But if you feel like you're going to carve out this time and, you really want to go into it so that it's really special time, it's so exhausting as well. So really in this situation, there's no winners or losers. It's just all part of growing up for the family, growing up together. And
yeah, absolutely. And I think you're so right. I think if you're the person that's rejected and you're having to try extra hard to make it all fun, that's equally exhausting, isn't it?
Have to draw on inner resilience to not take it personally and to just keep giving and giving.
I know. And you have to do the bigger and better things, which are really exhausting. Like you're the one that goes to the park and you're the one that does all the really kind of high energy stuff. Yeah. So I think you're right. I think it's just finding that balance and giving each other space. It's really important to be able to plan that proactively. And sometimes kids just need to know what's going to happen. The kids that cling to one parent over another, there's often also an uneasiness there, or a worry, or, and so tending to those worries that are underlying and having chats with the kids about their feelings and letting those feelings be put on the table without, dismissing those emotions, but actually just saying, it's very normal that, when you're feeling a little uneasy, that you prefer mum to be there right now, because that's what's always happened. We're going to have dad come in a little bit more. He would love to read the story tonight at bedtime, right? So, and sometimes it's just making that decision yourself as a couple, and you're going in and you're going, okay, this is what's happening. We're taking the bath together tonight. And you don't give a choice.
Yeah, so even if they're yelling, no, mummy, mummy do, mummy do, mummy do, you just say, no, I'm doing it tonight.
So important to just, I always say, you've got to be the captain of the ship. You've got to be the pilot that flies that plane. You don't want to just go, okay, the storm's here. I'm going. You do whatever. You want to be staying there and you want to take the lead. And it's reassuring for kids. And we really, it's not awful for them to have tears. Sometimes we back off when the tears come, but often, especially when it's about fears, the progression from fear is often via tears to be able to face those fears, right? The tears often come just at the point when they're ready to step through the fear with courage. So we back off at that point and then go, okay, you have mum.
Yeah, we need to.
But
that was
the most important time.
Recognizing that fears are actually okay. It's the kid's way of releasing the fear, and to then be accepting of the tears and say, yeah, I know this is really hard and I can see the tears are coming. I want you to know it's okay to cry. I see this is not easy.
A huge thanks to Mistella for sponsoring this episode. Mistella empowers parents throughout their parenting journey with education and honest conversations from pregnancy and beyond. Mistella has plenty of parenting articles and resources on their website. Visit mistella.com.au. Mistella is our family's favourite.
Well, Christiane, thank you so much. We always love having you on the podcast, sharing all your wisdom with everybody. Get so many little gems there, even for ourselves as we go through parenting together. And thanks so much for tuning into the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast. Never forget, parents, you've got this.
Join a Parents You've Got This masterclass today to be prepared, excited and educated for pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. Visit www.parentsyou'vegotthis.com.au and sign up for a masterclass today.
The information provided in this podcast is general in nature and is intended to support, not replace, a discussion with your doctor or healthcare professional. Parents You've Got This take no responsibility for any medical decisions made by individuals based on the information provided in this podcast.